January 17th is Quitter's Day. By this date, most people have already let go of their New Year's resolutions. And it's not because they're not capable, it's because the system was broken from the start. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Chloe, a process consultant. And what that means is every day I get to see behind the scenes of how businesses operate. And goal setting is that awkward elephant in the room tooting for attention. And it's not because owners or teams don't set goals or find the value in them. It's because even after they're set, they don't stick. And without clarity and direction, it's easy to stay busy without actually progressing forward. So this year, we're going to take a different approach. I'm calling this the Identity First Goal Setting Framework. It's built on 3 truths that most productivity advice ignores. 1, identity precedes behavior. 2, behavior precedes outcomes. And 3, energy precedes consistency. Instead of starting with SMART goals or targets, we start with identity. Instead of obsessing over results, we focus on signals. And instead of relying on motivation, we build a support system. Think of it as a cascading ladder. 4 parts, each flowing into the next. And we climb it at different rhythms, weekly, quarterly, and annually. Part 1, annual goals. Annual goals answer one question. Who am I becoming this year? Not what am I achieving, who am I becoming? And here's the part that really differs from traditional annual goal setting. These annual goals are intentionally non-quantifiable. No numbers, no metrics, just direction. Traditional annual goals try to do everything. Define direction, motivate action, measure success, often prove self-worth. That is too much weight and too much pressure when there are 365 days in between. When annual goals are treated like scoreboards, we either abandon them when we're behind, or we are continuously contorting our behavior trying to hit them, often without considering the factors impacting them and often at the cost of sustainability. Identity goals don't work like that. You don't fail an identity goal, you practice it. You start by stepping into the shoes of the person capable of achieving the quantifiable targets that you do want to reach. So let's say that you are a website designer. You might have a traditional goal of hitting 6 figures or achieving $80,000 in revenue. It sounds specific, it sounds motivating, but revenue is seasonal. It's influenced by a number of factors outside of our control. The chances are you'll break that down month by month. What happens at the end of March when you look back and see that you had a particularly slow quarter, even though you showed up every day and did the work? If you are still paying close attention to your goals at this point, this is where a lot of unhelpful feelings can surface, impacting our daily actions, whether it's overwhelm, imposter syndrome, or doubt. Now, if we were to switch that up into an identity goal, it might look like become someone who runs a sustainable creative business without burning out. Same ambition, but this one encourages you to keep moving regardless of what the numbers say on any given month. And you might be thinking, if I don't have a clear, quantifiable target, how do I know if I'm making progress? That's where our next part comes in. Part 2 is quarterly targets. Quarterly targets answer the question, what actions am I committed to executing on over the next 90 days in support of this new identity? This is where your specificity belongs. Quarterly targets are quantifiable, they're time-bound, behavior-based, and critically, they are within your control. So again, while we have a desired outcome that we might state, the actual target is based on an action in our control that we can take. A year is too abstract to set these goals. It invites daydreaming rather than execution. But 90 days, that's long enough to take action that has a significant impact and short enough to keep us focused on a daily basis. Coming back to our website designer who as an annual identity goal of running a sustainable creative business without burning out, their quarter one targets might be to reach out to 10 past clients about ongoing retainer work, setting up a project management system that would allow them to accurately track capacity, or blocking out one non-negotiable admin day per week. Now, it's important that each target set directly links back to an annual identity goal and that it's focused on actions within your control. So yes, these are quantifiable and we do want to track success criteria, but the target itself should be action-based, not outcome-based. We're focusing on our behavior in line with our new identity. And one thing that I didn't mention with annual goals, but I think is important at every layer, is to have a maximum of 3 items, 1 to 3. If we try to change everything at once, we end up diluting our energy, our time, our focus. We want to make it manageable and achievable. This whole system is built on sustainability. We have our annual goals focused on our identity and direction. We have our quarterly targets focused on our behaviors and actions. Now we need a way to track whether those behaviors are working and we're making an impact. That is not the same as judging ourselves for whether we have hit the goal or not. It's about watching for signals and adjusting where necessary. Part 3 is key performance indicators. KPIs answer the question, what metrics can I track on a weekly basis that would signal to me what's working, what's not, and what needs to be adjusted? They're feedback mechanisms. Signals, not verdicts. When KPIs are treated as verdicts, pass or fail, we start to avoid them. At least when they're not going our way. We don't want to look at the numbers. But when we treat them as signals, they become stabilizers. Objective data points that keep us working in alignment, guiding us forward through curiosity, not judgment. And this layer is most definitely quantifiable and numerical based. So if we're thinking about our website designer friend, they might implement KPIs such as how many conversations were started with past clients, how many retainer proposals were sent, how many hours they worked each week. So they can quickly identify trends when they are overworking and risking that burnout stage. Again, none of these numbers define you. They're just helpful data letting you know where to adjust. Now, to cap it all off, we need something that keeps the system alive. Because here's what happens without it. We set ambitious plans, partially execute, we feel overwhelmed, shame, and doubt when we don't execute, and then poof, our goals disappear. Sound familiar? Part 4 is what I like to call CEO meetings. Now, if you're working as part of a team, you can also switch this out to review rhythms or alignment sessions. But if you are a solopreneur, I highly recommend naming them CEO meetings for a very specific reason. These meetings answer the question, what happened, what did I learn, and where do we need to adjust? Now, the reason I recommend calling them CEO meetings is because this is a time to work on our business. We're no longer in operator mode, we're in owner mode. That requires a mindset shift. And I find naming them CEO meetings helps me step into that role. Of course, it's important to find what works for you. The name matters a whole lot less than the practice. This step on the ladder replaces motivation with governance. It's the part that most systems forget. And it's also the part that makes everything else work. Motivation is not reliable. It shows up when it feels like it and abandons us when we need it most. CEO meetings don't require any motivation at all. You just need to show up. And when you do, and when you take the time to review and plan your next step, you're able to create continuity regardless of how you feel. We have 3 different types of CEO meetings and they mirror our goal horizons. Our first one is our weekly CEO check-in. Did I do what I said I would do? Did things break down? What is our next action? Our quarterly CEO review asks, did these targets support our identity goal? What do the KPIs reveal? Where do we need to tighten, simplify, or adjust? And our annual CEO meeting asks, what did this year teach me? What identity shifts occurred? Who are we now? Now, I'm simplifying those questions for the sake of this video. I'm going to be sharing a template with you at the end that goes into each of these and customizes each of the meetings in a little bit more depth. But this gives you a good starting point and overview. Now, it's important that you show up for these CEO meetings, you book them in your calendar, and you do them every week. I like to do mine on a Friday. That's my admin blocked off day, where I have a non-negotiable 30 minutes with myself to sit down, just me, my template that I use, and a good cup of, I don't know, coffee today. Sometimes I'll do a herbal tea or a matcha. The point of these meetings are to really look at what you said you'd do, look at what you actually did, and to not beat ourselves up about the gap in between, to get curious about it, explore, learn, understand, take the time to address it rather than hide from it, because that's where we can make decisions that are going to keep moving us forward. Questions can be so helpful. Did you overcommit? Was a task unclear? Did life just happen? Once we get really clear on where we are now, we already know where we're going. So that allows us to set our next action steps in alignment with that. Now, here's a simple example of that. Let's say last week you had a client call booked on Monday, a sales call booked on Wednesday, and another sales call booked on Thursday. You also had a lot of client work to do. You fitted a section of time in on each of those days specifically for clients. But what you found was you were exhausted, burned out, and it was really hard because you were constantly context switching. One thing you might want to experiment with in the next week is to say, okay, Thursday is my day for calls. All I have to do is show up and take calls all day. And then the other days in the week, that is going to be specifically for client work. That would be your next action step. And then, of course, in the following week, you would track the results of that. Now, all these little data points and tweaks that you make is going to help you set up your business in a way that works for you, not the other way around. You're no longer fighting the friction. Again, this system is designed as a cascading ladder. So let me show you how it all works together. Your annual identity goals set your direction. Quarterly targets translate that direction into behavior. KPIs signal whether that behavior is effective. CEO meetings turn those KPI signals into decisions, and those decisions refine your next week, quarter, and year. This is a system designed to hold you through the low energy weeks, the weeks where life shows up, the self-doubts, and the moments where you might want to quit. And we all have those moments regardless of where we are on our journey. Now, if you are connecting with this, I have created a resource to share with you to help you implement this at the end. For now, I want to invite you to take 2 steps. Before you go to bed tonight, step 1 is to write down one identity goal for the next 12 months. Again, not what you want to achieve, but who you want to become. Start with, I want to become someone who. That's it. 1 sentence. Step 2 is to come up with 3 quarterly targets that would support that new identity. What needs to happen in order for you to become this person? Remember to focus on behaviors, actions, things that are within your control. Don't overcomplicate this. I would encourage you in this instance not to use AI to answer these questions. It's reflective. It's about going inward and getting really clear on who you want to become and what you want to accomplish this year. You don't need to have the perfect answer. Start with what you know now. This isn't about defining yourself through achievement. It's about becoming someone who keeps the small promises they've made with themselves, who can adjust without shame, who builds momentum through structure, and shows up even when life feels heavy. That's the real work. Now, to make this even easier to implement, I have created a Notion template to go alongside it. You will find a link to that in the description. This video was made at the request of many email subscribers last week, so I do hope that you found it to be valuable. If you did, maybe consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Let me know if you're thinking about your identity goal for the year ahead. And remember, the year can start on any day, or if you're still unsure or would like to workshop it, leave a comment below and I'll meet you there. Thank you for being here. Hope to see you in the next one.